When I finished the garage gym, the first piece of equipment I knew I needed in here was Bahb. The reason why is I believe Bahb to be the best piece of equipment for that middle ground between sport combative training and self-defense training. So what made me think about this is a recent social media post by, I guess you could say, a somewhat famous martial artist. And he was talking about the dangers of simulated striking or purposefully missing or pulling our shots. You can kind of tell he was pointing the finger at Krav a little bit. When we talk about simulated striking, we're typically talking about when we're doing some sort of defensive technique or drill. This idea of kind of placing our shots, pulling our shots before making contact, or I don't like calling it purposefully missing because it's not really what it is, but I know what he's talking about. He's talking about when we kind of go through our intended target and instead we kind of go off maybe to the side. Now, when I think simulated striking, I think not just blasting my partner in the face every time. I think about trying to get real targets on a real human body. But I can see why some people might think, oh, that's a waste of time and we're practicing missing and controlling. And a lot of times we think that's all that Krav Maga is just simulated fighting. I've been to a lot of Krav Maga gyms, good and bad, and both the good ones and the bad ones, they do way more than just simulated striking, first off. They do tons of pad work and tons of heavy bag work, way more than you would think. And if they're a good Krav Maga gym, like we talked about before, they are doing sparring and rolling and live drills and things like that. I can make some arguments about some other styles as well. Let's take mitt work. The argument was, well, other styles, they're always hitting something, no matter what. They're always hitting a pad or a bag, and they're always making contact. But I can make an argument where if I'm hitting mitts, if I always hit a mitt, I'm always kind of pulling my strike, right? We all pretend like we're making full extension when we do mitt work, but most of us don't. We're always pulling a little bit or not quite following all the way through. And look at my target. And it's not a person. It's not like I'm hitting a real target. I'm hitting a pad at the end of the day. What about jujitsu? When we do jujitsu, we always stop or tap before we actually get hurt. Tap, tap. Or what about Muay Thai? Let's take a teep, for example. We hold for teeps. A lot of times we hold the pads in front, adding on 4 or 5 inches to where the actual target is. And when I throw my teep 4 or 5 inches, that could be the difference between making contact and not making contact. So you might be thinking, wow, Jordan, those all sound like really stupid arguments. And if that's what you're thinking, you're absolutely right. That's kind of the point I'm making. They're all kind of dumb arguments. There is merit to all of those styles of training. I was talking to my one friend who is a very talented martial artist and excellent coach. And I think he kind of hit the nail on the head when he said, it's simple, do both, do all of them. Train with all of those different methods, and I highly agree. Okay, train with mitts and with heavy bags and hitting perfectly every time, always hitting the target. Train jujitsu and getting into that position and just knowing where that position is and being in the right position to make a submission or a break. Train the simulated striking in self-defense, okay? Sure, I might not be making contact every time, but I'm learning good placement of my strikes. I'm learning good targeting on an actual human target as opposed to just a mitt or a bag. Or if I'm doing my purposeful missing, I'm learning good extension of my strikes, that's a huge principle of striking, is hitting through our targets. So yeah, it might be simulated striking, but that doesn't mean I'm not getting good training. There's pros and cons to all these methods of training. We should just do all of them. To kind of cherry pick one method and say it's dangerous for whatever reason, I think is a little bit cheap. We should do them all, and then we should incorporate the sparring, the rolling, the live drills that we can do in self-defense. I'll do a future video on that, some good live drills we can do. We take those and we use it as that mechanism to put all that training together and make sure that we really can do what we're training. So what does this have to do with Bahb? To me, Bahb encapsulates all of these training methods. I get the realism of a human target like I would in simulated training. But I also get the stiffness or the instant feedback of hitting a target, hitting a pad or a bag. He's kind of like a heavy bag in some ways. But I can hit a realistic target and practice targeting and make contact every single time, mixing in those different pros of simulated striking or bag work or pad work, except I'm not blasting my partner and I'm not just hitting a pad. So if you don't have a Bahb in your gym, you should totally get one. Yes, they're a little pricey, but it's honestly just as much as you would pay for a really nice like heavy bag or Muay Thai bag. You should totally get a Bahb. I think Bahb totally agrees. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. Leave a comment down below. I want to know what you think about today's video. This is Jordan and Bahb with Be Ready Self-Defense. Train perfectly, fight ferociously, and be ready.